Well, welcome to One Verse. Today we have Todd Hostetler, the pastor at City on a Hill Teaching Center, and Jeff Millslegel, a Bible teacher at City on a Hill Teaching Center. They're going to be discussing a verse at random. And gentlemen, Jeff, you can go first. This is going to be a New Testament, and it's Colossians 2:15. Now that says, having disarmed principalities, and powers, he made a public, let's try this again. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them.
Yeah, you know what I love about the book of Colossians? It's not very long. It's a short book. It's just four simple chapters, but it is really, really practical. Chapter 1, he's going through a lot about the supremacy of Christ. In chapter 1, there's a number of he is statements. And when you get to chapter 2, now he's very much talking about how Christ is above all this other philosophy. He'll call it empty philosophy or empty way of thinking, or vain philosophy is really another one he does. And he kind of right here in the middle of the chapter is what he has this verse. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle over them, triumphing over them. So in other words, Jesus is over all this stuff. He is, earlier in chapter 1, the creator of the universe, the firstborn of all creation, and the head of the church, he mentions here. And then in chapter 2, he's talking about how he's above everything. Now, we realize that we human beings, or mankind here, human beings, we have the ability to choose. And if we wish to choose foolish things of the world over Christ, we can do that, and people, in fact, do. But Paul's trying to get the Colossian church to realize, look, he's above all this. They're living in a culture where there's a lot of philosophy. The Greek culture would have just been overwhelming in here, and all the things that the Greeks and the Stoics were thinking about and writing about and all that sort of stuff. And he's making a point of saying, look, Christ is above all that stuff. That's all foolishness stuff, because it's not going to last long. And Christ is over all, and he's going to try, and he has triumphed over it all. I don't care how smart you are or how much your philosophy is. Christ is the one that's been raised from the dead. I mean, someone who can predict his own death and resurrection. That's somebody I kind of really want to listen to as he, with the things that he's saying. And Paul's kind of making this point of, your philosophies are really irrelevant. All your ways of thinking is really irrelevant, because Christ is the one that's above all of it, triumphing over everything. So I just love Colossians. I just love how this book is laid out. Chapter 1 talking about supremacy of Christ. Chapter 2 talking about how he's over philosophy and how he thinks. Then chapters 3 and 4 kind of get to some more practical ways. So because chapters 1 and 2 are true, now I'm going to live out things in chapters 3 and 4. So that's part of chapter 2. It's a way we think. That's what Paul was kind of trying to deal with. Okay, Todd, what do you have there for us?
Well, if we look at this in the Amplified Bible, it just adds a little bit more color to it. It says, God disarmed the principalities and powers that were ranged against us, and made a bold display and public example of them, in triumphing over them in him and in the cross. I remember somebody years ago had done some research on this, and actually saw a couple of different people talk about this, so I know it's a historical fact. Apparently, back in the days, in the way that Rome operated, what Paul is doing is painting a picture that would have been very familiar to all the people who were reading this. And apparently what would happen is, after a Roman general had a great victory, there would be this huge victorious parade, and they would bring back all of the captives. For example, if the Romans defeated the people, they would bring back the king and some of his highest ranking people, and they would have this huge parade through Rome. And they would parade, they put on display, in their humiliation, they would show this defeated king or ruler or leader and all of those subjects of his that were part of the hierarchy of that. And they would be walked through the streets, and all the people of Rome would look at this and see the defeated. And it was just a way of displaying that Rome and that Roman general had abject 100% victory. This is the picture that Paul is painting, and knowing that people are going to picture this in their minds when they read this. So what Paul is saying is that what Jesus has done is completely defeated all of the things, the powers and the principalities, I love the word that it says in the Amplified, that have been arranged against us. In other words, Satan had established and put a vast, to range over all of our existence, these powers and principalities that had control, would oppress, could bring all kinds of influences on our lives. But Jesus defeated that so that all of those powers and principalities, which had ranged over our lives, have been defeated. Now Jesus is publicly putting them on display so all can see that Satan has been defeated. This is the picture we need to keep in our minds as we go through our lives. We need to remember that Satan has been defeated. Is he afflicting you in your life? Is he taking away your finances? Is he taking away your peace? Maybe he's trying to take away your marriage. Maybe he's bringing depression to you. Maybe he's bringing sickness to your body. What is he trying to take away from you? Picture in your mind what Jesus wants you to see is that Satan has been defeated, and publicly for the world to see, he has been overcome and defeated and has no power or control over you or your life. So if he's trying to take those things from you, picturing this in your mind, say in the authority of Jesus' name, Satan, you are defeated. Jesus has defeated you, and with my words of faith, I am enforcing your defeat. Take your hands off my health, off my finances, off my family, off all those things, because you're defeated. And you can just see on public display, he's been defeated. And then as you speak those things, and the world will see your victory through Jesus Christ over Satan, once again, it puts on display that Jesus is the king and Satan is publicly defeated. Jeff, I'll turn it back to you for a wrap-up.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's kind of hard to follow that up, Todd, because that is absolutely right. Jesus has defeated all the evil that's really around us. He is there, and then, yes, he has overcome all this, and it is a very public display of his power, and that is just an awesome thing when you realize here, he's not. Sometimes we get the idea that Jesus is kind of, I don't know, maybe we picture him as kind of a weak sort of man, and we're very passive sometimes as believers. And this verse is one of the many that you can really point to and say, no, he is strong and powerful and has overcome all this evil that we can see around us. So yeah, again, that's a part of Colossians chapter 2, and I just absolutely love this book of Colossians. It is an awesome New Testament book. Hey, thanks so much for being with us today on One Verse. We hope to see you again next time.